After spending some time at Liapari Island, we headed for Gizo to do some diving before heading out into the Blackett Strait.
So this is Plum Pudding Island, also known as Kennedy Island. The reefs surrounding Kennedy and Naru Island have deep sloping walls full of colourful Gorgonian fans and sea whips with gentle currents flowing past. So this is the Blackett Strait, and behind us is Kennedy Island. There's the trees there behind the wind vane. And Gizo town is to the right hand side there. And this area here is where PT109, which was the patrol boat that John Kennedy was on, was hit by a Japanese destroyer in the night. And from there he swam to what's called Plum Pudding Island, or is now called Kennedy Island. The Japanese used fast destroyers to carry troops, materials and supplies between Guadalcanal, New Georgia and New Guinea. These fast destroyers, able to travel at 30 knots, sailed at night and became known as the Tokyo Express. On the night of the 1st of August, 15 patrol boats left their base at Liapari Island on a mission to engage the Japanese in the Blackett Strait. The boats carried 4 torpedo tubes that contained Mark 8 torpedoes. These were unreliable on most of the PT boats, One of the boats, PT109, was commanded by a young 26-year-old lieutenant acting as transport, with another acting as an escort, Ambassador's son and future President of the United States. 30 torpedoes were fired without a hit, and the boats that had used their complement of torpedoes were ordered home. The lead boat of the group that PT109 was in took off chasing after a Japanese target, which left the others to chug along silently on a dark, moonless night. About 2 a.m. the Japanese destroyer, Amagiri, which means heavenly mist, bore down on PT109, slicing it in two. The crew only became aware of its black hull towering above them at the last minute and didn't have enough time to evade it. Kennedy was thrown hard against the deck, badly injuring his back. The other crew members were scattered in different directions. The destruction was so massive that the other PT boats in the area assumed the crew were all dead. 2 were dead, but the other 11 survived. The collision had ignited the reserve fuel, but the current carried the fuel away from the wreckage. When dawn broke the next day, Kennedy gathered the men together, and after a vote it was decided to swim to a small island which was 3 miles away, called Plum Pudding Island. Kennedy towed one of the men, and it took about 5 hours to reach the island. Several of the men were good swimmers, but 2 couldn't swim at all, and they were pushed and pulled along on a plank by the others. After reaching Plum Pudding Island that night, Kennedy decided to swim out by himself into Ferguson Passage to flag down any passing American boat. The current swept him away to another island before he managed to return to Plum Pudding. On August the 4th, the men struck out for Olasana Island, hoping to find fresh food and water, which they didn't. The next day, Kennedy and another crew member, George Ross, swam to Naru Island, which is the last in the chain. They climbed up onto the beach and found a small box with Japanese labels containing candy. Then they also discovered a tin of water and a one-man canoe which was hidden in the bushes. As they walked back to the beach, they saw 2 island men who paddled away when they saw them. Kennedy rowed back to Olasana by himself and found that the 2 island men that he and Ross had seen on Nauru had already made contact with the rest of the crew. The two men, Biyuki Gaza and Ironi Kamana, were island scouts for the Allies. The next morning, which was August the 6th, Kennedy returned with Gaza and Kamana to Naru Island. Gaza also showed Kennedy how to scratch a message in a green coconut husk, and the 2 islanders left with the coconut and a message. The next morning, 7th of August, 8 islanders appeared on Naru Island, bringing food and instructions from the local Allied coast watcher, Lieutenant Arthur Reginald Evans, telling Kennedy to come to his base. Evans had spotted the explosion on the 1st of August and sent his 2 scouts out to see if there were any survivors. The islanders hid Kennedy under a pile of palm fronds and paddled him to Gomu Island in the Blackett Straits. Evans had already notified the base at Liapari on Wendover Island, and the men were rescued from Olasana, reaching Wendover Island on August the 8th. For his courage and leadership, Kennedy was awarded the Navy and Marine Corps Medal. Kennedy later invited Biyuki Gaza and Ironi Kamana to attend his presidential inauguration in 1961, but the pair were unable to make the trip. However, in recognition of his help, Gaza lived in a house paid for by the Kennedy family, National Geographic and Brian and Sue Mitchell. The Kennedys also constructed a house for Ironi Kamana, but it fell down in the 2007 tsunami, but he survived. Gaza died in 2005, aged 82, Kamana in 2014, aged 96.
In 2002, National Geographic began an expedition to try to find the PT109. It was led by Robert Ballard, the bloke who found the Titanic. After several days of searching grids, an ROV located a torpedo and a torpedo launching tube in 360 metres of water. They later found the forward section of the boat, but the stern was not discovered and much of the wreckage was left undisturbed as a war grave.
After making our way through the Blackett Strait, we went past the tuna town of Nauru and down the Diamond Narrows. Our destination, Lucikeli, was to become one of our favourite spots in the Solomon Islands.
Yeah.
How deep is it, Paul?
6 metres. Yep.
Join us next time as we show you more of Lucikeli and have a dive at Shark Point.